Yo, hey, this shit easy, nigga. Hey, all I'm talking about, nigga, I'm still out here trying to get it.
Contender Regime Boxing, checking back in with y'all, man. What's good? So I just got done watching a video on Fight Hype. It was a Tim Bradley interview, and he was essentially just, gloves off, just keeping it 100, man. No coddling, no bullshitting, and was just keeping it 100 in regard to Gervonta Tank Davis. They asked him a question, what he thought about Tank, who he wants to see Tank get in the ring with. And that's a common question nowadays, especially when you're talking about one of the best fighters in the world. I think has a skill set to be pound for pound number one in the world in terms of just ability, talent, skills, and just everything that I've seen him do in the ring, the film. And Tim Bradley actually spoke to that as well in terms of Tank Davis' ability to sniff out a weakness in an opponent, his ability to punch, his ability to take a shot, and which is one of the reasons why he's criticizing the fight that Tank is supposed to have coming up versus Lamont Roach. It's supposed to be in Houston. I think the date got pushed back, if I'm not mistaken. However, it's crazy that a lot of people get criticism when they critique Tank Davis's resume and the way he goes about his business, right? Because it's like, here's a guy that you believe is one of the best fighters. Here's a guy that you believe can beat everybody in and around his weight class, but you just want to see it. That's why you hold him to a high regard, especially when you have Tank Davis himself and then his fans claiming that, he's this and he's that, but you just want to see him in the ring versus the best because that's what you expect. It's a high level of expectation. So, Tim Bradley kept it 100, man. He was like, look, the Lamont Roach fight, I don't like it because we already know what's going to happen. It's a foregone conclusion. We know that Lamont Roach, even though they have history, it's a DMV fight. It'll bring money to the community over there. I mean, it's going to be in Houston, so I don't really know how it's putting money in a community in the DMV, but it puts money in Lamont Roach's pockets, and I fuck with that aspect. And Lamont Roach being a Black American fighter, I love that. So from that regard, I like it. You dig what I'm saying? And Lamont Roach is a damn good fighter. He's not a bad fighter, but he's just a guy coming up in weight who really doesn't have anything to offer the Tank in terms of a challenge. So especially when there's other guys at 135 like Shakur Stevenson, who you would love to see Tank Davis fight. If you was going to go up to 140, you got Teofimo Lopez. You feel what I'm saying? You got Liam Paro. You got Devin Haney. You feel what I'm saying? So you got different guys that you would most likely want to see Tank Davis in a ring with, but it seems like we always get these random opponents. You feel me? And I just don't think it makes sense to bring a guy up in weight to fight when you have someone who is considered a pound-for-pound talent like Shakur Stevenson, who is currently a champion in your weight class, right? So Tim Bradley basically debunked a lot of the rebuttals from Tank Davis fans, a lot of these talking points. One of the main talking points is, well, you seen that he tried to fight Lomachenko. But Lomachenko, at this stage in his career, slow gassing, contemplating retirement, essentially saying, look, I'm good on that right now. And Tank Davis fans are using that as a justification to fight Lamont Roach. When, like Tim Bradley said, and I've been saying this, and I'm one of the guys who protected Tank, the narrative, let's say that. I protected the narrative of Tank ducking Lomachenko for a long time. But let's keep it 100. But I kept it real, though. I just protected the narrative. I always kept it real in that regard. I always told y'all that I felt like Tank would demolish Lomachenko even back then. But the facts of the matter is, Team Tank Davis, they avoided Lomachenko for years. Everybody knows that shit. Even Floyd Mayweather, who was in part advising him not to take that fight. And then when Floyd even had a realistic thought behind making that fight, Tank Davis, he was like on some, nah, y'all trying to set me up type shit. You feel me? They did not want that fight. And just like Calvin Ford said, we want to fight somebody who gonna let us do what we do. You dig what I'm saying? So that's a fact. They didn't want Leonard Ellaby did not want to make none of those competitive, challenging fights for Tank Davis. We all know that. We got film of these dudes on camera knocking down any idea of putting Tank in the ring with anybody that could be a challenge. You feel me? So we know that already. Anytime they come up to one of those guys, they always talking about pay-per-view sales and what have you done. And Lamont Roach ain't never sold no pay-per-views. But they finna fight Lamont Roach. Hector Garcia never sold no pay-per-views, but they fought him. Frank Martin ain't never sold no pay-per-views, but they fought him. But when it come to guys like Shakur Stevenson, it's about, well, do he sell? What type of pay-per-view numbers he got? You know what I'm saying? So they talking about they gonna justify with saying, well, he tried to fight Loma. But bruh, Loma old now. Loma on the back end of his career. When Loma was out here fucking shit up, they didn't want no smoke with Loma. That's a fact. That's a fact. They could have been fought Loma, and I would have picked Tank. I would have picked Tank then, and I'll pick Tank now versus Lomachenko. But they didn't believe that shit. That's why they didn't make the fight. And then they'll justify saying, well, they didn't send Shakur Stevenson no offer because Shakur got an injury, or Shakur was fighting Cordova or Cordina. You dig what I'm saying? Bro, Shakur Stevenson had been open for some time with no injury and no fight schedule. They could have been sent Shakur Stevenson an offer. The thing is, bro, they make it seem like it's so difficult to slide a contract across these guys' desks when it's a fighter that won't let them do what they do, essentially. Just using the logic and terminology of the great Calvin Ford. Shout out Calvin Ford. I fuck with Calvin Ford. I think Calvin Ford, one of the cornerstones of boxing in terms of, you know, bringing up young fighters, man, and taking them up under his wing and leading them to the promised land in terms of, you know what I mean? Just like, it's bigger than boxing for what Calvin Ford doing. I fuck with that. But I'm just giving y'all the 100 true and honest facts. You feel me? So Shakur ain't never got no contract slid across his desk, but Lamont Roach did. So my thing is, if these dudes ducking like y'all say, slide them a contract, see what they talking about. How you gonna claim people ducking? You ain't even sending no offers. And y'all know damn well can't nobody send Tank an offer. The last person tried to even talk about sending Tank an offer. Tank said he wanted 2 Ferraris. You feel what I'm saying? So we know that the offer is gonna have to come from Tank. And so if ain't no offers coming from Tank, then that means who don't want to fight? Tank them don't want to fight. Does that mean Tank is scared? Not necessarily. Does that mean Tank don't believe he can beat these guys? Not necessarily. All it means is the simple fact that they don't have no interest in fighting right now. Do I think that changes down the line? Possibly. If we looking at the history of how boxing worked, guys are very strategic. The same way Tank them didn't want no smoke with Loma back then, but all of a sudden, 6 years later, after Loma done been whooped on a few times, you know what I'm saying, and got his eye blacked up a couple of times, now they interested, so maybe down the line, Tank will want to fight these guys, you feel me? So, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. How did y'all feel about what Tim Bradley said in regard to Tank Davis and how he's moving? They said, you know, he said that he's like a 30-year-old prospect. Now, would I go that far? No. But I get what he's saying. He not saying from an ability and skills perspective that he's a prospect. No, he's saying from the way they moving. It's like he in protective custody. It's like we know you got the ability, but they moving you like a prospect, picking very carefully. You know what I'm saying? Now I told y'all the art of cherry picking is a art, and if you're masterful, you can have great success, i.e. Canelo Alvarez. I know that Canelo Alvarez is greatly skilled. He's a wonderful fighter. Fantastic ability. We all know that. But we also know that for a certain period of, and even still to now, for a certain period of Canelo Alvarez's career, for an overwhelming majority of his career, he's been picking and choosing very carefully. You feel what I'm saying? The art of cherry picking, bro, if you can master that shit, bro, it can be very lucrative, especially if you have the wherewithal And the ability to beat the guys that you're supposed to beat. That's another skill. You feel me? Because you can look at any sport. One of the main characteristics that generates staying power in whatever field that you're in, especially when it comes to competitive sports, is being able to beat who you supposed to beat. You feel me? When you out there losing the motherfuckers you know you supposed to beat, that's bad for business. You feel me? That's bad for business. If you look at an NFL team and you got a schedule, your best chance to make it to the playoffs, you know you got to have a certain record. You know you got to be at the top of your division. And you already going to have difficult matchups built in your schedule. So it's imperative that you beat the teams that you supposed to beat. Them gimmies, you got to take them. Even though you got to show up and prepare just like any other game or any other fight. But when you can beat who you supposed to beat, that's a very good ability. You know what I'm saying? That's a key ability, because that it leaves room for you to be able to grow and advance. If you losing the motherfuckers you know you supposed to beat, then you taking 10 steps back. You feel what I'm saying? So if you're able to do that and you masterful at the art of cherry picking, bro, that spells a very lucrative career. Because then you can go undefeated for a long period of time. And if don't let you have no power where you knocking motherfuckers out, bro, you can sell that shit. And everybody gonna eat it up. The casuals gonna eat it up. You know, the casuals love knockouts. They don't give a fuck about what his resume is. When they showed Frank Martin versus Tank Davis, when they did the tail of the tape, that bitch said championship rounds for Tank Davis, 80. Championship rounds for Frank Martin, 0. This man fighting on pay-per-view, prime time, one of the best fighters in the world. Tank Davis got 80 championship rounds under his belt. This man, Frank Martin, had 0. You think the casuals give a fuck if Frank Martin never been in a title fight in his life? Hell no, they don't care. These dudes the same age, and this man ain't never seen a title fight in his life. His first title fight is versus Tank Davis? You think the casuals give a fuck about that? Hell no, they just want to see somebody slumped over the ropes. You see, the casuals don't give a fuck about a motherfucker taking steroids and performance enhancement drugs. They don't give a fuck. They just want to see a motherfucker slumped. You feel what I'm saying? You can sell this shit, bruh, if you got the art of cherry picking down and you beat who you supposed to beat. Come on, bruh. And you knocking motherfuckers out. It's a business, dog. But that's all Tim Bradley saying. You feel me? I thought he kept it all the way 100, man. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, man. Contender regime boxing. I'll holler at y'all boys, man.